So, hello and welcome. I'm recording this for the third time, and yeah, I play Battlefield, and I think everybody and their mothers have played the game so far. And I have to say, DICE, they might be cooking with this one. They're on the right track. It's still far away from being a perfect game, especially considering that this is a Battlefield series. I'm always going to be that extra more critical when it comes to Battlefield. If it was a Call of Duty, I wouldn't even give a beep. I do have a couple of gripes with the game. I've enjoyed it a lot, played it for plus 30 hours so far, and I have to say, yes, it's actually pretty good. There are a couple of problems there, but it's a beta. I'm gonna forgive those. Usually DICE has a very good understanding how to fix the game for the launch, and even after that. Now the question is going to be, how long will it take this time? That's usually the issue with them. And one of the biggest gripes that I have so far, which kind of scares me a little bit, is the maps. At the moment, the maps, they need a little bit more work. They are beautiful graphically, they look amazing, there's no problem there. The problem is that DICE has had this style of making maps since, I think, Battlefield 1. Hardline still didn't have this problem. It wasn't perfect in a way of having a lot of demolition, revolution, what people were expecting for it to have. But the map design for gameplay was amazing. The problem is that since Battlefield 1, we start to spot these maps where they were basically plates, just a basic plate like this, where you had snipers around the map just sniping the middle because there's basically no cover, nothing blocking the vision at the moment. And that's, in my opinion, one of the main problems is that in most of the points of the maps, you just don't have anything blocking the vision for long distances and even close quarter fights. The most of the cover that you have is waist or chest height rocks. At this point, everybody's literally just proning everywhere because there's no other way to survive a gunfight. And in my opinion, the way to fix that is to just, for example, on Liberation Peak, where you have the rocks and stuff like that, make large rocks, canyons that are 10 meters to 5 meters tall, where you can actually walk and run in between, make more space, more combat areas where you can actually hide and just take a 10-second breather to reevaluate yourself for the next fight. At the moment, it feels like it's Call of Duty on steroids. You just have to spam your bullets all the time, and if you have to reload, you're basically dead because you are just going to get overrun. Back in the days, maps were designed very well, so if you had a gunfight, you won that fight, you could actually either stay on that spot or even retreat and resupply on ammo, heal yourself, or even wait for your teammates to spawn, and you could go for that fight again. Or if you won the fight, you can just proceed to the next point and stuff like that. That's a little bit of a problem at the moment, in my opinion. Please fix the maps. Way too little cover. The problem is, especially on Cairo, the problem there is inverted. There's just way too many spots where you can flank a player at the moment. So it becomes this crazy, all-out, just a rat's maze. Everybody just running everywhere. There's no sense of direction for the fight at the moment. So that's something that you can actually fix by blocking some of the points where you're running. For example, some of the alleyways that you have on that map, you just block them and just destroy some of the areas to make a little bit more space to play around. Another issue that I have, and this is a multi-sided issue, it could have everything to do with the maps or even the game mode at the moment, I'm not entirely sure, but pacing is another one. For example, back again, I'm just going to use Battlefield 3 as an example. Back in the Battlefield 3 days, after a fight, you did have a little time to get yourself together, resupply, and just reevaluate what you're supposed to do next. The problem at the moment is, even if you take a point, there's just going to be random enemies everywhere anyways, and especially with the lack of cover on a map, especially with the blockage, you can just be sniped everywhere. So even if you win a fight with a full team in front of you, there's nothing you can do after that. You just either have to die, keep running around, or just try to prone somewhere, because the only way you can survive is basically doing that. There's no spaces where you can just take a full reset. And this is exactly what I mean, that in Battlefield 3, for example, when you think about, let's say, Operation Firestorm, that was a great map. You had silos, you had warehouses, you had that apartment complex, you had the base, you had so many different points of battle and different connections inside that map for those points, that it felt like you were going to a different area to fight. At the moment, we don't have that. It's just this, let's fight here, we have to fight there, then we have to fight there, or I'm dead, and nothing else. The points are way too close to each other, and there's nothing really connecting them at the moment. It's just a random, chaotic map situation that we're having at the moment. So it's easily fixable, and I hope to hear this somehow. 64 players, this is another part of the problem, especially with the game sizes that we have at the moment, with the maps, some of the weaponry too. This is just going to be hellish, knowing that there's going to be 64 players in a map like Liberation Peak, especially with the lack of cover, like I was talking about before, with the amount of tanks, a chopper, UAVs, and a fucking jet in the sky. There was a point where I literally took a glance up, and I saw 3 UAVs, 1 chopper, a jet, and I think there was a tank right in front of me at the same time as well. I do understand Battlefield used to be a chaotic game anyways, but it was controlled chaos. At the moment, it's just chaos and nothing else. It's just absolute mayhem all the time, which translates as a movie on a screen because it's kind of cool, yeah, if you're watching the game, but playing it is just hellish. I'm not saying that you're supposed to throw away the tanks or anything like that. Actually, one of the ways you can fix this is by enlarging the map for this play size, or just literally cranking up those spawn times. It's very crazy at the moment, especially with the amount of UAVs you have in the sky. Everybody gets spotted every time, especially with the amount of tugs on the floor already. The UAVs are just going to be another free wall hack for the players at this point. Another thing that I spotted is that for the support, they're just spamming shields everywhere. Every time you go for a lane peak, there's just a person with a shield and with his light machine gun just stuck onto that shield, and he's just going to laser you, and there's nothing you can do. So, in my opinion, the shield, it's okay how it works. I don't have a problem with it. The problem is that you can spam it way too much. That is supposed to be a specialty system or specialty equipment that you have to choose instead of the ammo box and this, or whatever the ammo medic box you have at the moment. It's a little bit confusing how that works, but it's supposed to be instead of that, so you could actually choose which one you want. For it to be an extra is a little bit crazy in my opinion. Another thing that Assault's Molotov is just broken. It doesn't let you walk. It doesn't let you heal. It just fucks up the fight for everybody. Please, just you can leave the burning effect. That's entirely okay. It's a cool little thing that we have in gaming at the moment. But just please remove the movement penalty and the healing penalty. Maybe the healing penalty, that can actually stay as long as the movement penalty is in there. At the moment, it's just hellish to get away from it. Then there are problems with netcodec. That's a very old issue with Battlefield in itself. It's just an old thing. I don't think we're ever escaping that. Usually DICE has a very good handle on this one. It's never perfect, but they usually make it better. So I don't really have that much of a problem with that. For the movement section, I've heard that a lot of people have a problem with the sliding and just the movement in general. I really don't have a problem with that. In my opinion, it actually works very well. It works very close to that Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3 style with a couple of modernization. The only thing I have is that because the map is very cluttered, especially Siege of Cairo, there's a lot of clutter on the floor. There has been points that where if I'm walking on top of the clutter, it just launches me on the air. Of course, that's going to be fixed. But there's a lot of other different problems where if you're walking on clutter, it just throws your aim every now and then, which is a little bit crazy. So that's something that they should focus a little bit more on to make sure that you can battle on these maps without having to look down all the time, because on an FPS game, it's just not a viable strategy anywhere. So please fix the clutter. There's also a problem with people going through the floor on Cairo, but I think that is obviously going to be fixed, so you don't have to be stressing about that. It's more about the larger things in life. Let's go with that one. So yeah, classes and roles. The open weapon system, in my opinion, is a bad idea. You have to choose a role for a reason. And at the moment, it's kind of crazy thinking about the fact that you can select support, which has a shield, and then you can pick a sniper as your main weapon. And if there's people that don't see a problem with this, especially with the map design at the moment, I got a lot of snake oil to sell you, my brother. make it a class thing. If you pick up a sniper rifle, you're a recon. If you pick up a light machine gun, you're a support. If you pick up a assault rifle, you're an assault. And if you pick up an SMG, you are an engineer. And there can be sub-weaponry on that class. For example, the DMR shotgun and maybe the carbines could be there for everybody. Or maybe there's a couple of classes that can use each. For example, for the shotgun, for the assault shotgun, in my opinion, that is supposed to be a weapon category on itself. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to be working for the lounge, if the idea is that assaults can just pick up another weapon. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, the shotgun, a lot of people are talking about the fact that it needs a nerf. I do agree. I just want to see the one-hit potential still there. I like the clunkiness of it, how it works. The problem is that it just kills on a one-shot way too long range. That has to be nerfed a little bit. Another thing that actually bothers my beans is the fact that support doesn't have C4s. That is the one class that is supposed to have the C4s, and the one class that doesn't need the C4s at the moment is the recon, especially with the playstyle that we have at the moment. People that use the C4s are literally on the edge of the map, not even close to the tanks to use it. They are just camping at the moment. Please, you can leave the C4 for the recons. It's entirely okay. I have no issues with that. Okay, just make it an option for the support as well. To be honest, it could be an option in place of the shield. You know, make some decisions. At the moment, we have a footstep issue. That is something that I think they're going to fix, but I just want to say it here. If you've been playing a game and wondering that sometimes I hear steps very loudly, sometimes I can't hear them all. There has been moments that I've actually heard steps through a whole house, thinking that there's enemies there, just reacting to it, and there's a wall in front of me. There has been times that I've been literally just sprayed from the back without hearing a step from a player that's literally right behind me. And that's obviously something that needs to be fixed. The settings menu, it's confusing and convoluted at the moment, entirely broken almost. It's not the worst thing. This is not going to be a game breaker, but it is a little bit annoying. That was weird. There has been a problem where I've tried to set up my sensitivity to be one-to-one with the normal aiming and aiming down sight, and there seems to be a little bit of a minus sensitivity when you're aiming down sights. There's a minus multiplier, and it helped out a little bit when I went to the multipliers of the scope multipliers and I raised everything to 130. The problem is I don't even know what 130 means. I have a sensitivity of 17 if I remember. None of those numbers really make any sense. At least make the aiming one-to-one, aiming down sights and just aiming normally. Another problem is that the character blend into the environment is way too OP. It's hard to spot anything. Sometimes there are very dark spots on the map. There's very bright spots on the map, especially in Cairo, and it almost breaks your vision at that point. And there's way too much clutter in the maps. The map style is beautiful. The problem is they need to clean it up just a little bit. It has way too many spots where you can just literally hide. I've literally ran into a house, reloaded, and looked into a corner where I thought that was rubble, and that was literally a player just aiming me, and he just shot me. And of course, we make mistakes, that's okay. The problem is when you can't visually spot your enemies in very obvious situations, that's a problem. So please, I'm not sure if it's something to do with the contrasts, the lighting, or whatever it is. That's something that needs a little bit of a tweak. The HUD at the moment also is very cluttered. It's one of the most cluttered games I've played, and this isn't a Ubisoft game, which is just blowing up my mind. You can literally see almost every single dot of your teammates, all of the points and everything. I was thinking about the fact that what could be cool is that if they could make it a modular HUD, you could actually tap the things you want, deactivate the things you don't want. And it would be also awesome, this is a little bit of a missed opportunity, if you could move the points on your HUD to a different spot. For example, if I want the minimap to be changed from over here to the upper section where it is, for example, in CS, that would be awesome. Missed opportunities, they could have made an, what I was actually hoping for to seeing, especially on a modern game, is that when you're contesting a point, there could have been an ammo box right right there on the points that incentivize you to actually go and try to grab them, especially when you're running out of ammo. If you win the point, you can actually reclass yourself, you can respec your weapons, you could just heal up and even get your weapons fully and inside of a tick. So that would actually make the gameplay a little bit more interesting, especially around the points. That would make players fight for the objectives a lot more. At the moment, it's crazy that just by standing around, you can get almost, I think it's like 500 points that you're getting from a capture. There's literally players with 9 kills throughout the whole game, and they have like 9,000 points because the only thing they have done throughout the map is this. That's something that you need to nerf. It's not a good idea that the players getting 60 kills are competing with the players that barely even know where they are. That's not good. So make it like a 200 point per capture, another 100 for if you're contesting it, and it would be so awesome to have like an ammo box system where you can reclass yourself, respec your weapons, get resupplied, even heal yourself. And what's great is it doesn't make the support's ammo box and a medkit useless, because you still run out of ammo very quickly. If you fix the maps for longer distances between the points, in some of those middle points where you're starting to run out of ammo, support classes are going to be very useful. And when you're starting to run out of ammo over here, it really motivates you to take that point. So something to think about. Another thing that, in my opinion, was a little bit of a missed opportunity is that I'm a little bit surprised that there are still game designers out there that haven't copied everything from EFT, especially the gun physics, the gun table where you can smith your guns. It would be so cool for Battlefield to have something like this where you could just make the weapon exactly the way you want, because you have attachment points. You could actually move the aim point farther away from your face or closer if you want. That could be like a setting thing. You could put 27 flashlights there if you want to, and make like a and just make a weight system that affects the more stuff you put on it. It's not a deal breaker yet again. It's just a missed opportunity, in my opinion. Also, something that I was thinking about was that it would be cool if there was like an EA app for Battlefield 6, which you could download, especially if they're thinking about bringing the web browser back. That would be so awesome if there's a way you could actually kit your weapon inside that browser. Because sometimes I just want to go through all of the loadouts and not open up the game. For example, I could be just traveling from my work to my house, knowing that I'm going to be playing Battlefield. Let me respect my weapons on the bus. Hey, we live in the 2025s. Modern computers can make it happen. Please let that be a thing. That would be so cool. One of the things at the end I'm going to say is that I'm going to give the game right now a review, which is going to be 6.2. Don't be discouraged. Don't be mad. There's a reason for it. It's a beta. The game is still a little bit broken. It has a potential for a higher number, but this is to motivate everybody to actually be a little bit more vocal, because I want this game to be the next Battlefield. There hasn't been a game for me in years. I'm literally talking about years for a game that is an FPS except Escape from Tarkov and maybe CS. Those are the two games I've been playing, nothing else. Please let this Battlefield work. DICE, don't fuck it up. And remember, no pre-orders.